Okay, we are on.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone, for a new session or new series of CRID Webinar Series today with a special guest again. We're happy to have Shaikha Azzam with us today, who is a chief architect at and property survey team leader at the Dubai Land Department. Shaikha holds masters in international planning and development, the UK, and she is also RIBA chartered. Shaikha, that's a quick introduction about you. We are all looking forward to this session, this interesting session titled Architecture and Real Estate, which is a very interesting title to have on for our students and also for our professionals joining us today. So Shaikha, that's all would be from my side. I would like to remind the audience before passing on to Shaikha, if you have any questions, please type your questions in the Q&A section or just send them to me in a private message, and I'll be directing all these questions to Shaikha during the discussion after the talk. That's all from my side, Shaikha, and we're all looking forward to your talk.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for the introduction. I'd like to also thank Professor George for allowing me to be part of the CRID Webinar Series for 2021. I'd like to also thank the attendees. Let me share my screen. Just a minute. There we go. Okay. Thank you very much again. My name is Shaikha Azzam, an architect in the land department. Today I'll be talking about, I'll be talking about myself, major milestones in my career. I'll talk about the land department business activities, and I'll be highlighting specifically the building classification and survey project, which is the star rating project. I will later talk about Studio DS, which is a private practice that I started in 2018. And towards the end, I'll talk about the Royal Institute of British Architects and my involvement with the institution. Very quickly, of course, I studied architecture in AUD. The reason is because initially I wanted to study something that would incorporate science and art, and I wanted to design buildings and like most of us who grew up in the 90s in Dubai, we've witnessed a wave of developments and major buildings or iconic buildings were built, such as the Burj Al Arab. And I wanted to be part of this change. And this is why I studied architecture. Of course, throughout my studies, you learn how architecture impacts people and the way they do things and live. And not only that, but how much architecture impacts cities and city developments. And so I did my internship before graduating in Japan in a company called Nikken Sekkei. Of course, in 2014, I graduated and I joined the land department in the same year. I was the first architect to join the land department. In 2015, I was lucky enough to be part of one of the big projects in the land department, which is the building classification survey project, which we call in short the star rating project. I'll talk about it a bit more later. In 2016, I took on a postgraduate course in the British University in Dubai, and it was construction law. I did that mainly because we worked very closely with Dubai courts. So I felt like, the technical background was not sufficient. And I wanted to equip myself with the legal aspect of construction and design. In 2017, I was promoted to be a property survey team leader. 2018 was a good year. I was lucky and I was blessed to be nominated in the Dubai Government Excellence Program, which is a program that overlooks the performance of the government entities and looks at employees. And I was nominated to win the program in the field category. Unfortunately, I did not win. However, I made it to the top 3 finalists, and I was the first architect, female architect, to be nominated within the land department. In the same year, I met my very talented business partner, Deepa, who's an architect based in the UK, and we've decided to establish Studio DS in Dubai. And I will also talk to you more about that later. 2019, I was granted a scholarship to pursue a master's degree in international planning and development in the UK. And it was a full-time program, very intensive and very comprehensive. And we looked at different aspects of development, such as economic and social and sustainable. 2020 was not a very good year for most of us. However, I've decided to dedicate that time that we spent at home in quarantine to work on my portfolio and to become a chartered architect. And alhamdulillah, I was accepted, and I became chartered that year, and I was also voted to be a committee member to represent the UAE in the Gulf Committee. Let's talk about the Dubai Land Department. The Dubai Land Department is one of the oldest entities in Dubai. It was established in 1960 by the late ruler Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed. Initially and back then, it was established as a land registry. So it was responsible for surveying lands and subdividing and amalgamating lands to issue title deeds and site plans. Of course, this has completely changed in the late 90s, early 2000s, when a decree by the ruler of Dubai was passed that allowed expats to own properties in Dubai. That's when basically the wave of developments, the construction boom happened. And during that time, the land department was tasked by law to overlook and regulate these developments and the activities of the developers. Currently, it includes 5 sectors: the Real Estate Regulatory Authority, which we call RERA, the Investment and Promotion Center, which promotes Dubai internationally and locally, the Real Estate Registration Sector, and the Rental Dispute Center, which was previously part of Dubai Courts. However, it is now under the Dubai Land Department umbrella. Who do we deal with? Of course, we serve landlords, tenants, developers, other stakeholders such as management companies, brokers. We provide more than 230 services, and we're very proud to have all of these services in our Dubai REST application, which stands for Real Estate Self-Transaction. So if you're a professional, if you're interested in the real estate market, if you're a student, I would encourage you to download this application or visit our website, because we publish regular studies on the real estate market, the rental index, and property transactions. So what do we do? What do we do as architects, as civil engineers in the land department? As I said, the Dubai Land Department was given the task to overlook the developments in the freehold communities in Dubai. So right from the very start, when the developer decides to develop a residential or a commercial or mixed-use development, they come to us to register the company itself, the developer, they register the project and open an escrow account. To some of you who don't know what an escrow account is, an escrow account is an account that is within the Dubai Land Department, where the developer deposits the money they take from the investors, and we protect this money and we make sure that, unfortunately, fraud doesn't happen or the developer decides to run away with the money. So after the registration process, we move on to the Uqood registration, or which we call the off-plan central database. And that's when the design of the project is completed. We ask the developer to submit the set of drawings in addition to other documents. We make sure that this design complies with our standards, and we look at number of units, the areas, which will then be stored in our off-plan database. After this stage, the developer can sell the project off-plan, and when they collect the money, it is deposited in the escrow account. Of course, consequently, the construction starts. We also monitor the construction progress of the project. So we visit the project every 3 to 4 months, and we look at the construction milestone and we give it a percentage progress. And usually based on that percentage, the developer can take money out of the escrow account. So we make sure that the developer is granted the money based on the performance on site. Once the construction is completed or almost completed, we make sure that whatever is being built is registered again in our database, and we look at the initial registration, and we make sure that there aren't any area differences or disputes, and if there were, which happens, we make sure that we support the investors and the developers to reach legal settlements. And finally, once the project is completed, we go again to the site, we look at the project progress, and we give them the 100% completion certificate, and that's when the title deeds are issued to the investors. So briefly, this is what we do as the technical team in the land department. As I said, in 2015, we were assigned the building classification and survey project, and it was assigned to us by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed through the Executive Council. And this project, which started in 2015, and I'm very happy to announce that we're launching this project in Cityscape on the 10th of November, is one of our strategic projects, and for many reasons. Of course, as some of you may know, Dubai is divided into freehold and non-freehold communities. There are around 150,000 plots. There are 7 zoning authorities in Dubai, so not all of the communities are overlooked by Dubai municipality. You have other zoning authorities. For example, Palm Jumeirah falls under Tarakhis. So as the land department, we have a strong land database. However, when it comes to buildings, especially in the older communities, we have a weak building database. So the main purpose of this project was to establish a unified database on buildings and lands. And the second phase of this project was for us to work on building standards and coming up with a star rating procedure for every single building in Dubai, very similar to the hotel rating system. A typical site survey includes, a plot being assigned to an engineer. The engineer goes to site, they survey the plot. Some plots include more than 1 buildings, So we make sure that we document what's on site in terms of land status, building, type of building, number of building, the usage, number of units, and of course we take site pictures, and we move on to answering the 64 questionnaire, which results in the star rating. We've worked on the standards, which gives us a star rating to each building. The standards include 64 questions, and they're divided among 5 criteria. You have engineering, health and safety, management, sustainability, and documentation. And some of the questions include, for example, is the building well maintained? Does it have any major cracks, or is it structurally unstable? Are there any sustainability features in that building? Are there paved roads, parking spaces, etc.? And once the engineer solves or answers these questions on site, the system automatically generates a rating for that building. Some of you may ask, why rate buildings? What's the purpose of it? And simply, it's because we as a government entity, we want to provide the best services to the investors and the citizens. And for us to do that, we need to have a very strong database and information when it comes to buildings and lands. The star rating project will enhance many of our services that we provide in the land department. One of them is property valuation. Currently, property valuation is more or less based on market practice. Whereas, with the introduction of the star rating project, it will be based on verified information and accurate information. Of course, this will also contribute to the rental index. Again, the rental index is more or less controlled by market transactions or market practices. With the introduction of the star rating project, as a government entity, we'll be able to cap rents, or even allow owners or landlords to increase rents based on the building performance or how much the building has achieved. In addition, of course, to building maintenance and service charge. And most importantly, we visit hotels and we travel and we book hotels, and the first thing that we look at is how many stars does it have, because it indicates the quality of that hotel. So you wanted to reflect that on buildings in Dubai. Of course, the outcome of the survey is a generated star rating on our application. So again, if you're a landlord, if you're a tenant, if you own a property anywhere in Dubai, you can easily look at your star rating in our application. You can also apply for an official report. We call it Project Report BCS through the application for further details. Moving on from the land department, I wanted to also discuss with you today or talk to you about my private practice, Studio DS. As I mentioned, I've established Studio DS in 2018 with my partner, Diba. We're currently located in the UK, Dubai, and Thailand. As a government employee, I have the luxury of being supported, obviously, by my workplace to pursue a career in design and to establish my own practice. I'll talk to you about some of the key projects that we've worked on. We have the multi-house, which is a project that we've worked on in the UK, and we were asked to design affordable housing. Of course, as you can see here, we've maintained, the typical English house form. However, we wanted to interpret, a contemporary design onto it. You can find more information on the website. Another project that we worked on, actually, we were assigned as sub-consultants, is the Central Embassy in Thailand, and we were asked to design the facade for that mixed-use building, shopping mall. Of course, this is an actual picture of the project. It is built, so if you're in Phuket, make sure to visit it. We've worked on several residential villas in Dubai. Another project was the Interlace, which is also an affordable housing project assigned to us in the UK. We looked at prefabricated components, and the challenge here was to actually, comply with the affording housing policies and percentage, and to create 3 different typologies. Another project is the Central Floresta in Thailand. We were assigned to design the interior of the shopping mall. Of course, we were very much inspired by the vernacular architecture and the natural landscape of Phuket. And of course, the influence of the Portuguese architecture. We have also the Dubai Police Future Foundation Office, which was an interior design for the Dubai Police. Moving on, I also wanted to talk to you about the Royal Institute of British Architects. As I said, I was chartered in 2020 by the Royal Institute of British Architects, RIBA, and it has been a very valuable experience, me working with them. Of course, being associated with such prestigious institution allows you to not just, be up to date with current trends or professionals or projects, but it also gives you the space and it supports you academically and professionally. Of course, you can be affiliated with RIBA. You can be as a student, as a professional, or as a person who's interested in architecture. As I said, it opens doors for you in terms of, academic enhancements or exclusive events. And as I said, being part of the Gulf chapter committee allowed me to be part of some of the events that RIBA presents. For example, we have a talk here that was by Simon Fraser from Hopkins. In 2019, for example, we've designed a children's workshop. Of course, it did not happen last year in 2020. However, we're conducting one on the 13th of November, 2021 in D3. So make sure to pass by if you were there on that day. So yeah, I strongly encourage students to get this professional recognition. Not necessarily from institutions such as RIBA, it could be any other professional institution. And I think this was the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Please feel free to ask any question. And if you're not comfortable asking it here, you can always email me on shaikha.azzam@live.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shaikha, and thanks for this interesting talk. I think we do have a few questions that maybe would like to direct these questions to you. I'll start with, what is the challenge that you faced at your work, and how did you resolve that challenge? If you can share that with us, one of the challenges that you may face at work.
Well, one of the main challenges that I faced, as I said, I graduated AUD and I joined the land department. Being an architecture student, you're mostly equipped with design skills, and the 5 years is mostly centered around designing. By joining the land department, it was a bit challenging at the beginning because I had a different set of skills that I had to utilize, whereas the job required different kind of skills. So my work was mostly field work. So I had to go on site and look at construction progress. I had to deal with contractors. I had to learn the role of every single, person on site, from consultants to sub-consultants to contractors. So the technical bit, honestly, was a bit challenging at the beginning. But as an architect, eventually, I mean, you need to pick up the pace and start learning these things on field. So it was a challenge. However, I do encourage students or architecture professionals to go on site and look at how things are done. Sitting behind the desk is nice and comfortable, but having that experience on site is also very eye-opening. So
having said that, I think, do you advise our students or any student to, in order before starting their own practice, to go and have this experience, practical experience, before going into starting their own practice? I think, and that's what happened in your case.
Yes, exactly. I mean, some might think that my role in the land department is relevant to architecture, and I completely disagree with that, because overlooking projects in Dubai and regulating developers' activities, basically it highlighted the do's and don'ts, and it allowed me to learn from probably other people's mistakes. It taught me, what people actually need and what the city needs. So, again, sitting behind the desk and designing something is nice, and it's fun. And however, is it actually what people need? Is it viable for the city? So, for example, one thing that comes to mind is we need more affordable housing. We need more developments or projects that are people-centric. So you wouldn't know this, and of course many other things without getting into details, but you wouldn't know that unless you're in the field. Yes, so I think the land department has exposed me to that.
So in other words, if I may ask a question, did your role in land department change your design approach?
Definitely, yes, definitely. Maybe we concentrate so much on some of us, not all of us, but we concentrate maybe on how a project can be aesthetically appealing, or how iconic or big or grand it should be, and again, being an architect in the land department, it exposed me to what actually people need and what the city needs, and what sort of projects make it and what projects don't make it. For example, we look at around 500 projects per year, and surprisingly, some of the most beautiful buildings are not doing so well in terms of rent or selling, and sometimes because it's very expensive. People can't maintain, for example, the maintenance charge or service charge. So yeah, so I think that has changed my design approach.
Thank you. I think we have also a question here. What would you like to achieve in Dubai land after being exposed to different countries and different BIM levels and different mandates?
What I'd like to achieve?
Yes.
Okay, that's a very good question. Okay, being exposed to different countries, different BIM levels, and different mandates. Okay, I think what I want to achieve, in not necessarily in the land department, but what I want Dubai to achieve is having, as I said, a unified database or a unified vision when it comes to urban planning. As I said, Dubai is currently, let's say, divided among different authorities. And you can witness or you can feel this fragmentation just by driving across a highway. So I would want to see a more integrated city with better mobility and better pedestrian, walkability, and a more, sustainable and socially sustainable, economically sustainable, and of course, green energy, the typical definition.
And I think this vision is a very important point to discuss, especially talking about some neighborhoods having the same, or at least having, or trying to unite, trying to build a system where the neighborhood would have the same style. If we are going to discuss it this way, rather than just going, as you mentioned, driving across the way and you may see different styles and different neighborhoods. Yeah, that's a very good point. And I hope that you will be able to achieve that, because that would be a very good achievement when talking about the growing architecture in Dubai.
I won't be able to achieve it alone, but yeah, maybe one day.
You have to be one of the team achieving it. I hope so. Yeah. The last question would be, in this case, Shaikha, we don't want to keep you long with this. Do you think, how do you see, being in this role, how do you see technology will affect your role or looking into architecture and developing? Now, we're talking about sustainability, for example, and how to have a sustainable community, and the technology is playing. For example, we're talking about sustainability. Technology is playing a major role in sustainability, in terms of having a lot of tools that would help us knowing or trying to predict the energy consumption and so on. So how do you see in general, let's say, with the effect of technology driving architecture?
Technology is a very broad term. However, if we look at it, technology is inevitable and it's very disruptive. And when I say disruptive, it can be negative or positive. Some of us take it negatively because a lot of current jobs are being eliminated or they vanish due to technology. But technology also generates new skills and new job opportunities. When it comes to technology, let's say in the government sector, you can see that all of the government entities now have their services online. And we saw that during COVID. In the land department, for instance, property transactions were happening online. And it was happening in few minutes. So imagine you in the US and someone else in the UK, they would sell property, online, where in other countries it might require, lawyers and documents. So technology is something that we need to take in and adopt. So yeah, that's in terms of, how to adopt it in the government sector. In terms of architecture as well, technology is very important because it allows us to basically predict mistakes or enhance the quality of design, and for us to reduce risks and cost in the future, and to mitigate as well. So, for instance, if you look at, for example, the Dubai municipality now is taking in the Building Smart initiative, which is an initiative that allows all the government entities to look at this virtual model and allow them to give feedback on that design. So you can see how much time consumption is reduced, and how easy it will be for consultants, for contractors, and even for owners, clients. So I think this is how, I think technology will change the way we do things and the way we think and the way we design. Of course, that's a very broad topic, but that's my brief answer to it.
Right. Thank you so much, Shaikha. I think that's all from my side for these questions. Thank you for the interesting talk, and thank you for giving a different vision of architecture student who would graduate and then would work on something that's not, not strongly related to architecture design, but rather, instead of this, just maybe monitoring the policy of the city and the land department, or the policy of the architecture design. I think maybe George wants to add something.
Yes, Mohanad, if I may. First, Shaikha, thank you so much for this informative and good presentation. Really appreciate you having us, having you with us today. And I'm sure, the student and the people, has benefited a lot from this. I have actually one just question, and I would really appreciate if you can, educate us in a way. The land department, do they have all the, let's say, the information or the digital information about the buildings that are in, let's say, Dubai? Let's say the form, the size, even, I don't know, the 3D model or anything. This big data, can we find it in the Dubai land department?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes, you can.
Why I'm asking you this, because, the center is very much now is trying to push into the immersive kind of experience, where you put the virtual reality and you can experience, you can visit places or, designing in it and so forth. And one of the applications that we have is that you can either grab a certain urban fabric, or you can actually visit that urban fabric in virtual reality, which makes it very much close to reality. And I noticed that Dubai, which is one of the major cities in the world, doesn't have that. And I can see that, for example, if you visit Paris, New York, any big cities, and I think Dubai is equally at that level, you can actually see the building in 3-dimensional. And so how far are we from this? And do you have any, any input about if this could happen, if land department is interested in creating this, and so forth?
I've answered the question is yes, we do have the information on buildings and lands. However, when it comes to 3D representation of the city, Dubai municipality is taking a lead on that. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to create this 3D city of Dubai, and we're working very closely with them, and we provide them with because what we have right now are architectural drawings, details on the units, up to the level of units, and what we're trying to do with them is basically reflect that onto a 3D model. We've actually started with few pilot projects to test it out, and we are working, very heavily on this project. And I can't tell you more about this.
But actually, that's a very good news. Then we hope probably in the coming years we might be able to access a virtual, let's say, a digital twin of Dubai somewhere online.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And I think Dubai municipality was mandated to do that, and this is why they've created the Building Smart initiative, which is responsible for that project. But it is happening, and it is very necessary for everyone. Yeah.
Fantastic. Very good news. Okay, thank you. That's it from my side. Thank you, Shaikha.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shaikha, for the talk, and thank you, George, and thanks for everyone who joined us. Thank you, guys, and see you in the next CRID webinar. Thank you, and have a good day.
Take care.